Welcome to another segment of the Word for Today. And remember, the word for today can be a word or a group of words, a passage, all biblically based. And the word for today is the last days. The last days aren't to create fear, but hope. Last days aren't supposed to be a surprise either. The last days aren't so much defined by number as it is defined by event. The image in Daniel chapter 2 perfectly depicts what we are talking about as it relates to the last days. In the time of Babylon, it wasn't the last days because another earthly kingdom was prophesied to take over from them. And this follows Medo-Persia, Greece, until Rome. Rome was the last power to effectively rule the entire world. The next power prophesied to come and rule the world is God's kingdom. And because there's no other kingdom that stands between Rome and God's kingdom, we are in the last days. Daniel chapter 2 verse 44 tells us, "And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever." In the days of the divided kingdoms or divided nations, as we know it now, China, America, Russia, this is the period of the last days. We are in the last days because of the next event to come. Therefore, the last days could be 1,000 years, 2,000 years. Time is not the real factor. The real factor is the event to come. That is the next power to rule the world, which Daniel clearly states is God's kingdom. Therefore, when people would declare that their great-great-grandparents said Jesus was coming, yet he has not come, therefore they conclude he is not coming, they are not correct, because the last days do not have a specific time window for us human beings. In fact, Peter, in speaking of the last days, stated, 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 8, "But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day." Your grandmother was right. We have been living in the last days since around 1798, when the Roman power lost world dominance. It is true that there are things that would increase in magnitude as well as in frequency as time goes along. 2 Timothy 3 verse 1 says, "This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come." Paul gives us a long list in this chapter of things to look out for. The last days were not designed to creep up on us. Jesus has flooded the word with signs of his coming, signs of the last days. Impact point. The last days is a period of hope and not of fear for those who serve God. Isaiah 25 verse 9 tells us, "And it shall be said in that day, Lo, this is our God, we have waited for him, and he will save us. This is the Lord, we have waited for him, we will be glad and rejoice in his salvation." It makes sense to serve the Lord, especially in these last days. The word for today, the last days.